Welcome back to another episode of the USL show with the hardest going music that is in tempo. Not calling anybody out this time. Listen, we have a lot to talk about this week. Lots and lots of fun stuff. Some new places, some old faces rejoining the league. And I just want to go ahead kick it over to you, Ryan. There's a certain team that's coming back for the Independents to invade once again.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised. Gio was the first person who alerted me to the news on Friday. Actually, quite the Friday news stump for League One to announce that the Wilmington Hammerheads, which I hope would be the name that hasn't been formally announced, would be returning to League One in 2024. So I had to take the Hammerheads kit that I had hanging on my wall of my apartment and try it on for the first time in 5 years for tonight's show. It still fits.
I mean, that's honestly, hey, shout out to you for it to still fit. It would not fit me, I promise you that. John, how you doing, my man?
Doing well. Happy to be back. It's only been like a 1 week off, but it feels like it's been ages. So
for sure. Every single time I take a week off, because I think I've only taken 2, but it's like, man, that was the longest week ever. That's wild. Yeah. Alan, how would we haven't seen you in a little bit. How did your concerts and whatnot go?
Concert went pretty well. There was a little hiccup in the middle of Star Wars, but those things happen with 12 and 13-year-olds playing instruments. And then last week it was the 8th grade trip to Knott's Berry Farm, which is a amusement park. And so that's always a fun trip because you get to see the kids outside of their like school habitat, and they're like a little bit more like normal humans. And so that's always like a treat to get to do that. So it was been a busy couple weeks, and then next week I probably won't be here either because I'll be in a different state. So it is summertime. I am like very calm. I just want to take a chance to congratulate John and the Backheeled team for their first month of coverage of everything American soccer. It's like almost overwhelming how much information is being put out. But I got to shout that out. And I can't wait for the Backheeled podcast with music that is in time.
And Gio, you are still fighting a good fight on Twitter against people who invaded your stadium, all 9 of them. And also getting into fights with people eating things with forks, not looking at you, John. How you doing, dude? We can't hear you. No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was having some technical difficulties earlier. Summer's here. Kids are out of school, so that's fun. I had some graduation, my daughter's 5th grade graduation, and I did cry at the end. But it's been good. You're not supposed to eat pupusas with forks unless I might give you a pass if you're Caucasian. The first time, but after that, then we're gonna have to talk about our friendship, and I might smack it out of your hand. Which I almost did for Brandon Mays, but he caught it immediately, and he's a good man. But yeah, it was overwhelming being invaded by a group of people who do not look like they were there to party and pop smoke, and it was overwhelming. It was a hard, rough 90 minutes. Listening to 10 people chant and yell at us. I don't know how you guys dealt with that in the championship, or the lack thereof, I guess. But for the past, few years, but it was fun, and can't wait to talk about that game.
my biggest takeaway from that is honestly kind of respect to the independent supporters because they didn't back down. They just kept on fighting their.
Yeah,
I won't call it a good fight, but they kept
yeah.
fighting it.
It took them two days to respond, so they they had their time. But
For sure, for sure. But I want to go ahead and get into some I told you so's and some shockers. I think everybody's going to know what mine is. So, but we'll go ahead and start where we left off. Geo, some I told you so's and shockers.
well, let's just go with I told you so. I knew Greenville was going to beat Charlotte from the beginning. They were top of the league. I predicted for them to be the worst team in the league, and they've been far from it. But I feel like we've been in form lately. A lot of people have been talking about Greenville's form. And we came in and dominated that game. They've got 25 shots to their 5. And we got a well-deserved win at home, going into a tough game with Omaha coming up soon and Northern Colorado coming up also. We have an easy game this week against Forward Madison. Jake Keegan hat-trick incoming. But I knew we were going to pull off that win, even with Charlotte looking as good as they have been, as crazy as they haven't, but they've been pulling off results. But I was happy that they couldn't do it. And how about that Legion win, though? I'll let you talk about it, but that was my biggest shocker. That really was. After everything you talked about, how it's a free win, and all the locks that we did, we looked stupid.
I mean, the USL curse hit once again. Phil was the only person not to lock it. He was the only person to get their lock of the week because, of course, and he doesn't get to be here to brag about it. We cursed Phoenix. I would like to say it was Tommy Sohn and the boys showing up, but it was us. We all know that. So, but we'll get to that just a little bit. Alan, I told you so's and shockers.
I'm going to go a little bit different route with my shock of the week, and I'm going to not be accused of West Coast bias here. But my shock of the week was actually Orange County playing 2 matches and giving up 5 goals over those 2 matches against Oakland and New Mexico. And the shock is also how those games finished in both instances, where Orange County giving up the lead in the first match to lose 3-2 in quite an epic, for a neutral, pretty much an epic match. And then kind of the same thing happening, but in reverse. And was it Tambakis coming up with a huge save to deny Orange County another draw. So like 2 late individual moments of brilliance. I thought that was quite shocking, particularly when Braden Cloutier was relieved of his duties in kind of mid-October. Since then, Orange County never let up more than 1 goal with Richard Chaplow in charge. And I think right now, giving up that 5 goals is not what Orange County wants to do in the way they want to play the match. So that was kind of shocking to me. And then I told you so. I was warning San Diego people that this Red Bulls game was going to be a little bit of a trap game, but also like Baby Bulls have been in a lot of matches recently, and this is going to be a lot harder than everyone thought. And then Red Bulls announced that they're like loaning down several players. And that just shows you a little bit of the, fine margins that a team like Baby Bulls have is when you put, a guy who gets some MLS minutes in that USL team, all of a sudden they are a little bit more dangerous and actually can put a good game in. And, San Diego gave them a good game in the second half, but it was kind of a told you so to San Diego fans. Like, you can't sleep on anyone in the USL right now. I mean, especially we've seen this in the Western Conference with Colorado and Monterey Bay. Like, any team can beat anybody given a international break.
I do just want to hop in on that Baby Bulls thing. Like, that was particularly flagrant in that Caden Clark came down when he's an active RB Leipzig player. Like, Hassan Ndam was nominated for USL Young Player of the Year. He's an MLS caliber guy. Like, what they did is completely absurd.
and so on par for the course. This is so not the first time they've done this. And you kind of talked about it a little bit on the socials, Alan. And depending on who you are, it could be seen as a salty, loyal fan. But you're 100% right. I mean, it's the fact that it's completely unfair and completely garbage. I mean, it's one thing to do it the way Loudon does it, right? Where it's been the same players all year long. But the thing is that I mean, Baby Bulls, this is not the first time they've done this. They've done this kind of thing, maybe not to the point of Leipzig, but they've done this before where they send down some of their better players from, or maybe some fringe players in the senior squad down to, the 2 team. Why, and obviously this isn't going to be an issue anymore, which maybe this will be an issue with some of the 2 teams down in League 2. But why not just have a cap of how many people that you can loan out to your 2 team? I mean, the difference between a 2 team and an academy team, I mean, those are technically 2 different entities. I mean, you can only maybe make it a rule that you can only send like 3 or 4 players down from your first team down to your 2 team. And that would get rid of a lot of the BS like we saw with Baby Bulls and Loyal.
I think something to remind some folks who are newer to USL is this was the landscape before COVID, right? I remember there was a game, I think it was Tacoma did this to Sacramento. Like Sacramento was a really good team. Tacoma was like a nobody. And they like loaned down these guys who were scoring in MLS games and they just sent them down and just walloped Sacramento. And so this happened more 2018, 2019, like this happened in the before times a lot more frequent. I shouldn't say a lot more frequently. It was more of a reality because it was happening all the time, right? You were getting these guys loaned down. We saw it with, I think Reno had some of these situations where in some ways it hurt Reno because you got 5 or 6 guys on a Friday and you had to incorporate them. You saw this with Tacoma, especially over these like international breaks where guys need minutes. And where else are you going to send them until MLS Next kicks off? And then that's where some of those guys might end up. But I think it's pretty terrible, especially in a more modern USL. And we just got done discussing with Tampa Bay and Louisville and Phoenix and New Mexico about competitive balance and what is actually fair and what the league is doing. Yeah, it looks bad. Yeah, it's kind of crappy. We can't wait for 2 teams to leave because this won't happen anymore. But right now, like, I wasn't surprised when I saw that. I was like, yeah, of course that's what they're going to do. And, San Diego fought back and ended up getting a draw, which I was pretty happy with given the circumstances. And ultimately, like a West Coast versus East Coast doesn't have huge playoff implications as far as tiebreakers anyway. So at the end of the day, it's whatever. If San Diego misses the playoffs by 2 points, I'll be mad, but I don't think that's happening. Knock on wood. So, sorry, Taylor.
I want to push back a little bit on the it's not going to matter much longer. I mean, let's look at the W League, right? You have 2 NWSL teams. Their 2 teams are in the W League, so we could be seeing this in W League. We very well could be seeing this with USL Championship or League 1 team sending down their players down to League 2 because that's where there's a lot of 2 teams in League 2 right now. And I think that this is something that just because it won't affect the championship doesn't mean it's not important to talk about because we're still going to be seeing these issues going forward, maybe just not at the level of MLS to USL, but especially with W League though.
I think you'll see it a little bit more probably in Super League. I'm not sure there's a huge benefit of sending an NWSL player down to a W League match, except for maybe minutes. But I think right now you get these guys who are kind of fringe MLS guys or guys who are young MLS guys that USL offers them a very competitive match to play in. So it's not just like free minutes, running ragged over the other team. It's like, hey, this team's going to give us a good game. Let's send those down. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the chat, so I will step back. And Ryan's got some good points that he's been typing out, and he should probably share those with everybody.
I think it's really crucial on how, like, just squad registration of players. Like, there's a hard set that you can no longer loan down players. I think at a transfer window for some other leagues within Europe, that there's just they basically have to register the players they play for the squad at a certain point in the season, and then that's it. They can't move, and then potentially they can move like in the winter window or halfway through the season. So that could be something USL should have looked into or could potentially look into, but it's really tough with these two teams, especially going up against more of the independent teams, that they just have more flexibility in their rosters and just how many players they can manage, especially with Red Bull having the global academy that they do of Leipzig and your Salzburgs of the world.
Well, moving on, we still have 3 more Told You So's and Shockers. John.
Yeah, on the Told You So front, I'll go with Oakland, just getting 2 wins this week. I was the only one to pick them against OC, but I think the bigger point is that it was not like I had done a tactic show a couple weeks ago about how they'd been playing really, really well, and it just wasn't turning into results. And yeah, Orange County and Monterey are the 2 worst teams in the West right now, but like they're finally turning those performances into results, and I think that's really good to see for a team that's been doing it right. I mean, Juan Guerra is a class act who's, done the service as an assistant. So yeah, and he's a looker at that. But in terms of the thing that I kind of missed on was not picking Greenville this week. I'm as big a Don Smart fan as there has been, like, since day one, 2014, Indy 11, shout out. So I should have been on top of that.
He had a great game too.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that's one sentence. The fact that Orange County and Monterey Bay are in the same conversation right now. Oh, how the late season bloomers have fallen. But the same thing with Oakland. Is this just going to be their thing every year, that they're really bad at the beginning and suddenly they're just going to sneak into playoff spots and ruin somebody's year? Is that just their thing?
Yeah, they just don't start playing until week 8, basically.
Maybe that's something they're teaching them. They're like, we're going to let them think they have a chance. Like, this is more fun. We hate playing home playoff games.
I mean, they do have a game in hand on a lot of the teams below: Galaxy, RGV, Vegas. So if all 3 of those teams like win their next game, which is debatable if all 3 of them do, like Oakland isn't quite as close to the playoff line, but the fact that they're even on points in Sacramento, but Sacramento's got 3 games in hand. Wow. And only 3 points back of El Paso. And then you're talking about like home playoff matches. Like, that is pretty impressive.
And you're looking at an Oakland team who's one of 3 teams in USL Championship right now who are unbeaten in their last 5.
Dumb. This is a dumb sport.
The funniest thing I thought with that Oakland Orange County match was I had messaged it into our chat, but in the span of 4 minutes, we went from Gio, Phil, and Kaylor getting it right to Alan and myself getting it right to John eventually getting the prediction right with Oakland's comeback win.
He's a wizard.
It's a dumb sport. I don't get it. And I said this last week. When it comes to these predictions, every single time John's like, oh, everything's telling me I should pick this one team. I'm going to do the other one. He gets it right. When I do that, I get it wrong. It's whatever.
The wild part about Ryan's stat is, like, I looked at the standings, and the other 2 teams were not 2 of the teams that I probably would have guessed were the other ones with 5-game unbeaten streak. So
And one of those teams has won 5 in a row.
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. Ryan?
I will go with my I Told You So of the week was that I was the only one who backed Tampa Bay to win their match against Louisville. Now, to be fair, there was a lot of just travel, and that game got delayed to a Sunday. But that was a Tampa Bay performance that looked pretty convincing over Louisville. I'm not sure if that was Louisville was just more fatigue waiting for the Sunday match, but Tampa Bay had 12 shots in that one. It was off of Fernandez with the penalty, and it just seemed like a really comprehensive performance for the Rowdies, who have now gone 4 matches unbeaten, and that's 3 wins in their last 4. I will say the one match that I had missed was that everyone else in the show had picked Union Omaha to beat Chattanooga, and I was the only one who thought for a draw there, and I was wrong on that one. Omaha did pick up a win in that result.
Sad boys gonna sad boys. Yeah. My told you so. Honestly, I didn't really have much that I was really headstrong on. I guess I'm just going to continue just piggybacking off of John's threads and just saying Jake LaCava, and that's it. That's all I'm going to say on that one. As for shockers, yeah, Legion, that was wild. I don't think okay, I know how it happened, but the thing is that through 4 years, or I guess 3.5 years of Tommy Ball, we've never seen a Legion team go out and play like that before. How was I supposed to predict that after 3.5 years he'll finally change the system? Well, that's not my fault. But I mean, it was really impressive to watch finally utilizing the press, because we have players who can press like nobody's business, and we have for 3.5 years, and we're finally doing it. I said this on the fan experience, but Jake Roof, underrated MVP of the game last week. He's our backup's backup left back, and went out there and played a dang near perfect match. So shout out to Jake Roof on that. I mean, with two of our best players out in Anderson Asiadu and Bruno Lapa, I think there was good reason for us to be hesitant of this match against Phoenix. And with those same players likely out against Memphis, I mean, I'm going to give a little spoiler on mine as much as it hurts. I just don't see it working 2 times in a row with those 2 players missing, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's a wild game because Birmingham and Phoenix are both top 5 or top 4 in shots. I know they talked about Birmingham's like
Birmingham, whatever.
I don't know. I've been taught that southern cities you just like slur all the words together, and that's how
Birmingham,
Mississippi, Louisville.
Oh yeah, it's definitely Louisville.
They were harping on Birmingham's like ability to finish, but I think Phoenix is also having a little bit of they're only converting 10% of their shots. So they're getting tons of shots. They're just not putting it behind, in the net. They're still top 10 in goals scored, but I think there's a little bit of a problem there. They're just not being as efficient as they've been in the past. And I think that's a huge difference in this team is if their conversion rate goes up just a little bit more, then people aren't worrying about Phoenix not making the playoffs. I don't know what's going on with Phoenix fans. Phoenix fans, don't hit the panic button. You're fine. This is what every other fan of every other team but Tampa Bay and Louisville, like this is what we go through every year. You're fine. You're gonna be fine.
It's funny.
You're gonna be
funny
fine.
to say that because do you know how many Cruz outs posts I've seen in the last couple days? I get that success, and some people think the coach out thing is kind of a meme and funny, but some people really mean it that they want Danny Cruz out of Lou City. Like, who are you going to promote? Who are you going to put in there? That's granted, I guess Lou City's been a kind of a factory, and they just kind of assume that anybody can walk in there and do the dang thing. But also, no. Is Hackworth. Yeah. He was great there. But this Danny Cruz-led Louisville team just looks like a more competitive team. They just look better. They are more attractive to watch than they were before. Is some of that stadium? Maybe. But it's also just a better brand of footy. All right. Anybody else have anything from any of those conversations?
I think people are going to be mad if we don't say Detroit City. So Detroit City, and now we can move on.
I do just want to say, I mean, we were talking about it. I know I got goaded into this. We were talking about it a little bit in the chat, but the way Detroit City fans look at this result where they got roundly outplayed by the Riverhounds and complain that they're like top 10 in a given power rank is completely hilarious. Like, this team has been skating by, doing well, doing as well as you could hope for an expansion team that's getting the results against the teams they should beat. Yet they don't have a good win, really, except for the Crew in the Open Cup in Birmingham in like April when the Legion were playing terribly.
Still not a good win.
Yeah. And so we're supposed to pretend like Detroit is the powerhouse. Like, don't get me wrong, they've looked like a playoff team. They've got the upside, but they've got to prove it. And they've got the matches in these next couple weeks to do so. But like, I know that's Detroit fans' whole thing is being very online, but just take a chill pill.
I mean, it's Sacramento at home, El Paso at home, and then Memphis away. Those are 3 matches that if they want to prove it, potentially the number 1 team in their conference will be a game at the end of the month.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just really funny to me because this is not me calling out one single person. I've seen multiple people with this take. It's going to seem like I'm calling one person out. I promise I'm not. But I saw a lot of people that were like, well, the betting lines coming into this had Pittsburgh as a favorite. I'm like, don't listen. I know we have, the USL better who's usually in our chat. Hey, shout out to you if you're watching. But most betting lines that you can find readily available suck. They don't know the USL like people who are following the USL. It's just
it's also, if the argument is Detroit is awesome, but then they're saying, oh, of course we drew this game. Look at the betting lines. They were so favored towards the other team. You're arguing 2 separate points where either Detroit is shit and they got a result luckily, or Detroit is good. And I don't know. It's just throwing me.
Drag him.
And honestly, if you're going to look at all the teams in the Eastern Conference, if you're going to look at home records, Pittsburgh's arguably a tougher spot to play at than Keyworth.
We don't want to talk about that. It's fine. Anyway, so I think we have a couple things from an old Twitter mailbag. Since we're already on the topic, the very first one that came in was one of my favorites, which was just Nate Steinwasser. That's all it said. So good goalie, really good goalie. Without him, honestly, Detroit City might be a solid like 3 or 4 positions lower. I mean, he has gotten them so many points throughout the year that I think personally you could put him into the keeper of, the all USL keeper this year. He is in that conversation to me.
94th percentile goals saved above average, top 5th in goals against. He's good, and he was the reason they got that draw.
Yeah. Anybody else on Nate Steinwasser? Go ahead, get your Detroit City feelings out. Let's go ahead, talk about it.
It's a cool name.
They have a statue. This is the one with the statue.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. It's the one with those fans. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that just like I clean cups? Like,
But the way he's been playing, I think, is possible to land himself an MLS move next season.
yeah, he cleans
Atlanta.
He cleans cups and apparently also cleans some sheets. So
there
he's
we
top
go.
5 in clean sheets.
There we go.
Although that stat's a little bit like wins for a pitcher in baseball. It's like goalies can do so much, but it's also like the offense dominated. There were like 0 shots, but the goalie gets credit for a clean sheet on USL stats. Defenders get credit for that too, which I think is also a little bit weird. Like, what if you're a good defender and have a crap goalie? Like,
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox.
I want to go ahead and move on to, I guess I'm going to put these back to back. The first one is Memphis really the best team in the Eastern Conference? And I am going to take a step back because I'll seem biased and I'll let other people talk first.
Okay, so I'll jump in on this. They're not the best, but I think that they've convinced me they're in that kind of top 4. So with your Louisville, your Tampa, etc. the way that this team has been built in 2022, where it totally reflects the style of game that Ben Pierman wants to play. They've got players up and down the roster who are very good passers, very technical on the ball. They defend well, not exceptionally, and I think that's my pause with them. And you saw it when they gave up 2 goals against Atlanta with fairly basic mistakes of just getting sucked in, not marking people. At the same time, going forward with Laurent Cassiadou dictating everything in the middle in front of Malloy, Jeremy Kelly being one of the breakout players of the USL season on the left.
So
Like they're going to be in the playoffs and they're going to be a threat because of that offense. But to say they're the best right now is a little bit of an overstep.
yeah, that's kind of where I was going to land with them as well. Is, I mean, before the season, I called them a playoff lock. I really believed in the players that they brought in, and if you watch them towards the end of the year, I mean, they had from like the middle of October on, or not October, maybe it was October, because they had like 9 matches in the span of 1 month that they had to get in. They started late, whichever month that was. They really started turning it around then. And I think that they have proved to have a good culture around there. They're finally starting to bring in the right players. I think that this team is really freaking talented and got overlooked because they didn't bring in the quote unquote premier League One talent. They didn't go raid Greenville, Union Omaha, etc. They went and got some players that fit their system, which sometimes is more important. All the time it's more important, but you guys know what I mean. I really believe in what they were doing this year. I think that they are going to be a formidable force moving forward, especially since this year their entire offense is not Segbers and Murphy. It is goals by committee with, a couple guys getting more here and there, but it is goals by committee now. So they are just so much more dangerous than they used to be.
I think they're a little bit inflated right now because I think they're a little bit in the Detroit City realm lately, right? Like of those 5 wins in their past 5 wins, the most notable one is a 2-1 home win against Indy 11. Like before that, they beat Battery, which everyone does that. They beat LA at home, or they beat LA at Memphis was at home, which LA is pretty terrible on the road this year. And then they beat Loudoun and Atlanta. So it's one of those. They're beating teams convincingly that they probably should beat, and that's great. Like that's what you should do. Like you should go in there and wallop those teams. I'll be interested to see what this team, much like Detroit, how this team matches up against their run is kind of in early July against Tampa Bay, Phoenix, then Lou City. I think that's where you're going to see exactly what kind of team 901 is. Like they're good right now. And to be honest, I haven't watched a ton of them because their matchups haven't been super great. So it's like, all right, I have a limited number of hours. I'm good not watching, Memphis, but this is a team that I think people should start paying attention to and start to follow. And until they beat Lou City or Tampa Bay convincingly, I'm not sure they can make a claim to the best team in the East yet. But I mean, it's right on the horizon in early July for them to do just that.
And then the follow-up question, I've kind of wanted to put this together because we do have a fun Southern Harm derby tomorrow, and is Birmingham for real? Talent, everything when it comes to rosters, names on a roster should tell you yes. Everything that you watched against Phoenix should also tell you yes. But we also have, 13 other matches to tell you no. So I don't know. I think you're going to find out a lot in these next 5 to 6 matches. We have our next 6 matches, 5 of them are on the road, 5 of them straight on the road. Those including Lou City, New Mexico, Sacramento. It's going to be rough, I think if this team can hang around that 6 to 9 range in the standings after that 6-game run, I think I can firmly say, yes, this Legion team is for real. If we dip below 9th, I think we might have sealed our fate just a little bit.
So if you mentioned that kind of 6 to 9 range, you have Indy 11 and Miami at 6th and 7th on 20 points, then Birmingham in 8th on 19 points, then SC Tulsa at a more distant 9th at 14 points. If you take that first trio, would you say Birmingham is the most likely of those three to miss the playoffs, or would you say it's still yet to be determined?
Yes, I think so. I think Birmingham would be the first out. I don't know. Somebody else, because I'm just being pessimistic, to be honest.
I have this exact question as a draft in my Twitter thing right now to send it as a poll. So I'll actually do that because
Okay.
I'm so curious. Like, as an Indy fan who is also a self-loathing human being, I think that Indy is most likely to miss the playoffs. But like, I don't know. I'm so bought into what this Birmingham team is on paper, even if the performances don't always match that. And I don't know.
And Kaylor, if you're looking at just kind of recent form from this, they have the same just kind of last 5 games as Detroit, Pittsburgh, and El Paso for Birmingham Legion.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that you have 2 draws at home, both of which that should have been wins, that 100% feel like losses. I think what makes this feel different is not scoring a single goal against Las Vegas, not scoring a single goal against Miami, and then taking the battering that was Lily Ball. I think all 3 of those results back to back to back has just firmly cemented everything as being like, this team sucks, this is awful, we hate everything. It's also just going to be hard with Bruno Lapa in Brazil right now and Anderson Acedu likely going to be out with an injury. Those are 2 of our best players. One of them, I would say, is our best player in Anderson Acedu that we're going to be missing. So I don't know. It's just kind of hard to say.
And if you're just looking at the table, I don't think Birmingham should be any lower than 9th unless something goes catastrophically wrong. Just look at the bottom 5 teams of the Eastern Conference. It was said in chat, there's a lot of just like really poor play between Hartford down to Loudoun, Atlanta, New York, and Charleston. That's basically you're picking up a lot of your points there.
Yeah. And Harry puts it, yeah, Birmingham's leading with 100% of the vote. Fair.
I'm gonna go vote for someone else then.
Thank you, Ryan. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there was anything else that was sent. Simply Greenville on top of the world. Geo.
that is how I felt, especially after the Independence Ultras supposedly taken over. They had first 50 people get a free bus ride to come to the new rivalry game. They offered it, and they didn't even get 50 people to get on a free bus ride. So that was interesting. And then I think I saw it during halftime because I was just preparing to yell at Noah Abrams, I think the keeper's name was. That was emergency loaned. And as soon as he came out, I had a fun time telling him how his defenders don't even respect him. They don't even know who he is. And he didn't like that very much. But I had a fun time just talking to go back to Miami, being the 3rd string keeper. But it was just funny seeing the Independents saying that we need to thank the referees for our win, and that they were going to show up and take over. And the pictures were just hilarious to me. And then hearing a few days later how they just, I don't know. I don't want to say too much because I don't want them in my DMs or anything. But
I mean, you're already blocked by Charlotte.
I am. At this point, it doesn't matter. But I don't know. Some of their fans are just a little bit unbearable and soft. But it's funny. I'm just glad we were able to win, and it felt good with how well that how they've been able to get results and to show up, and just hearing back and forth of a lot of people are saying we need to push the panic button after not being in first place. Well, now we're in first place for the time being. Going into some big games, so I think now's the time we're showing our quality, especially when we get to play the MLS Giant Killers in 2 weeks. So that'll be a fun week.
So pumped for that matchup. So excited for that matchup.
I do just want to say real quick, at least the Charlotte fans can hang their hat on the fact that their ownership group is so reasonable and politically sane.
Yes, you're right, and and they argue just as well as he does about, but yeah, Noah Abrams. I don't think he is a friend of mine anymore. He did not. He left his water bottle and towel and everything. He did not go back and get it because he knew he would have to look at all of us. He did tweet out that we're a good supporters group or something like that.
Gio, do you realize that the person that he's a backup to was the guy that punted the ball at you? He definitely warned them.
I know. Yeah, he must have. But that was a fun time. I still don't have my voice fully back from yelling at him so much. That's how much fun I had at that game that we were so politely taken over by.
So I got one more thing before we move on to predictions. And it's kind of talking about Oakland roots a little bit. And I think they have 2 players from Venezia, right? On loan.
Carlson and Johnson.
It's one of the things that's really interesting, right? Where they don't have a formal anything going on there. There's no Rangers to Orange County thing going on. But I wonder what made Oakland the place to send not 1 but 2 of their players over to. I wonder what that was about. I don't know. I mean,
I don't have a clue. Both of those players. I mean, Carlson is leading the league in goals right now. Like, he's been unbelievable. But Janssen has been really flexible. He started on the left wing over the weekend. He was a central midfield player who came on as like an attacking option late against Sacramento a couple weeks back. He's been amazing. Like, the impact that those 2 have had on loan can't be understated for this team.
Yeah, I mean, somebody mentioned, I can't remember who it was now. Somebody mentioned somebody else winning the Golden Boot, but I was like, there is one guy that is firmly ahead at this point. And the other one that we need to talk about, and I think we've already talked about it a bit. Yeah, Rowdies are back. That one was commented a few times. I mean, what a strange situation. From everything that we were hearing, basically was that they got stuck in Dallas because everybody who goes from Tulsa out east, they go through Dallas. They got stuck in Dallas, and then they had to send out another like private or commercial jet from the Rays organization to get players home just slowly. Weird. So strange. But the thing is, though, is that this happens a lot more than people think. I talked about this before with Las Vegas Lights when they came to Birmingham. They didn't get to Birmingham. I think their keeper told me not until super late at night the night before the match. So late that they didn't even get a chance to train the next morning. So they had to come into the match, and the first time that they got a chance to stretch or warm up or do anything is when they got to the field. So this happens a lot, a lot more than they like to admit. Granted, normally it doesn't happen in somewhere that far away, like Dallas to Tampa Bay, but it still happens. But yeah, Tampa Bay has Thomas Van Kazil. I still don't get it. It makes me sad, and that's all I want to talk about that. But let's move on to some predictions. Why don't we? First up, we're going to start with Ryan. We have the Miami FC versus John's Indy 11.
Yeah, speaking of that, just poll, it's interesting because we'll actually get a head-to-head meeting of those two of the three teams out of that just kind of Twitter poll, and it's will also have an impact on Birmingham. One of the things that I'd really looked at was just that Miami, out of the last like 5 games, 3 of them are draws, and I think that's gonna just kind of play a little bit more into this team that I'm willing to take a draw on this one as both teams kind of just take another step forward into the playoff picture, but really not like taking a firm establishment into this 6 or 7 spot.
John?
Yeah, quietly, Miami's kind of been in poor-ish form. Like they're drawing a lot of games. I'm still an Indy doubter because of the aforementioned self-loathing, so went with a draw here.
Indy hasn't drawn a match since April, I believe. So I was like, someone's probably going to win this one. So I picked Miami. I don't know why. Maybe I like fed like the self-loathing from John like fed in, and because I think Indy, I do like Indy. I do think that they have something there that they're going to get there eventually. I think into the playoffs, but I think Miami rediscovers what it's like to win without having to play Charleston.
I chose Miami too after they got their mediocre third keeper loaned away. I think they're gonna be they're gonna be able to pull off a win and see what a difference it makes.
I also picked the Miami FC, not for the same reasons that Gio did. I get so enamored by names on the roster, and I still just like the names on the roster more for Miami. That's about all I had for that. That's the only
I do
reason.
real quick just want to say, like, I think tactically Miami is fairly uniquely positioned to deal with what Indy does. Like Segbers is going to handle Asante fairly well. Indy's going to be reintegrating 3 or 4 starters that have been gone on international duty. In 2 weeks, when these teams play again, could be a different story, but I just have a slight Miami lean, so of course I would draw.
Naturally. Next up, we have Birmingham Legion FC versus Area Code FC in the Southern Harm Derby.
Memphis is one of the few sides this season that are still unbeaten on the road, including 3 consecutive wins. That dates back to April 16th. So I'm going to be taking Memphis to continue their win streak to make with a win here.
John?
Yeah, went and draw with this one as well. I'm really buying into what the Legion are giving after that Phoenix performance. I think Memphis is good, but I just feel like a draw here.
So I'm rolling with the hot hand, and since I'm like basically Norwich City at this point in predictions, I locked this one for 901 just to like take a chance, ride the hot hand. But I wouldn't be surprised if Birmingham shows up and makes it an interesting match. But I'm rolling with the hot hand in Memphis.
Could you talk about Norwich of USL show predictions? I was trying to get a picture with Dean Smith over the weekend, and I was gonna tweet you, but I couldn't get to him in time. But anyway, I picked Memphis to win. I was really leaning towards a draw because I think the Legion are playing well, but so are Memphis. But I think Memphis are going to pull a win. I really like what Aaron Malloy is doing over there after a great season with Ford Madison. He's been a real big difference maker for this team, surprisingly. So I'm going with Memphis, unfortunately.
When in doubt, when it comes to pronouncing Birmingham, it's always ham like a pig because South. We love food. At least that's for us. Yeah, I picked 901. It hurts. Part of my motivation is the last time I picked against Legion, they won. So I'm hoping the magic stays. Except for 2 times of the 10 meetings Legion and 9-1 have in the USL, only 2 of them have been decided by more than 1 goal. So this is going to be a hard, scrappy win, and I wouldn't be shocked by a draw whatsoever. Either way, this feels like a match that, just like in years past, is going to come down to close to the final kick of the game, and it just feels like that's going to fall to Memphis's way. God, that hurt to say. I want to throw up. Speaking of one to throw up, we have Loudon versus Baby Bulls.
I laughed when I saw that you picked this one. I was like, gosh, if there was just a match that is really tough to figure out the same movable force and just immovable object, this is a difficult one. You're looking at 2 teams who basically have 4 losses and 1 draw in their last 5 games, but I don't know. I went with New York Red Bulls too to pick up a win, but I don't honestly feel confident in any 3 results occurring here.
I went with New York here, and I'm feeling kind of confident about it. Loudon's had some time off,
Lock it.
which could be good or bad, but they look decent in their last time out, so it kind of kills that momentum. New York, meanwhile, has been putting in good performances even when they're not getting the results. Even if they don't get the MLS loans, I think they take this.
Yeah, so I went with the Bulls, and so I think what's going to happen is it's going to be 0-0, and then Michael Jordan's going to get subbed on, and he's going to pull a 1989 Chicago Bulls and last second jump shot over the defender as time expires, giving the Bulls a 1-0 victory.
If you thought Wizards 45 Jordan was something else, wait till you see number 99 Michael Jordan come out. Golly.
Oh, man, this is gonna be a must-watch game because I was thinking the same idea. Loudon are gonna come out with the Monstars on top of their chess piece horse-looking thing, and just alongside Michael Jordan to draw this game. I really would say that Red Bull would win this if Caden Clark plays again. So but I think it's going to be a crappy draw.
I'm picking Loudon mainly just because they were at one point the USL Cup winners for the first 2 weeks of the season. Congratulations on them winning the USL Cup. You have to believe that they're going to repeat at some point. I think this is where they finally start their journey back up to the top of the league. Next up, we have the Miami FC versus Tampa Bay.
Interestingly, the Miami FC was the last team to shut out Tampa Bay Rowdies in a match that happened back on April 9th. But this Tampa Bay team has just been in fantastic form, just kind of refined it or just kind of finding their form again. So I think they pick up the result here and get a win that could take them as high as 3rd.
Yeah, Tampa's looked really good in these past few weeks. That game against Louisville was one of the best defensive performances I've seen in a long, long time. I've got them winning this.
Ditto. For you young folks, that was a machine that would make copies.
I thought that was a Pokemon.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a purple blob-shaped Pokemon.
You young whippersnappers and your Pokemon. You young whippersnappers and your Pokemon cards.
By the way, just finished a replay of Pokemon Silver. Very great game.
All right.
Yeah,
Silver's a good one. I loved gold. Loved gold.
I went with the draw, just to be different because I knew every single one of you were gonna pick Tampa Bay, and so I just wanted to see what I did. I could not go with Miami winning, but hopefully they can pull off a draw. I think they're at home also, so.
Yeah, I ended up picking Tampa, and this is my lock. I It's just so hard to overlook what they did against Lou City. I don't think Lou City had a single shot on goal, right? I mean,
No.
that is just defensive masterclass at its best. And like I said, they just picked up Thomas Van Kazeel, which he is going to be a massive difference maker. And I think he's going to be able to stop that Miami attack pretty swiftly. Next up, we have Detroit versus John's Sacramento. Also, John's Detroit, depending on the day.
I don't know. This is it's a really interesting one. Sacramento with a pretty decent win over San Antonio 1-0 this past week. But if you're looking back at a lot of Sacramento's previous results, they only have one win away from home this year against the Baby Bulls, and they are a very low-scoring team, just kind of like Burnley their way through a lot of these results. You have to go all the way back to the first match of the year against El Paso to find when they had 3 goals, and then back in March and April when they had 2 goals in a match. So I think it's going to be, I still need to be convinced by their road form. So I'm going to go with a draw here. But yeah, it's a very low scoring Sacramento team as of late.
Robert, you shut your mouth.
So Sacramento across all competitions has given up, I think, 2 goals in 7 games. Like, they're shut down at this point in time. I watch a weird amount of Detroit because
we love them.
You get a lot of likes when you post long threads about them. So I feel like the scouting report I sent over to Coach Briggs is a pretty good thing. So I locked a Sacramento win.
I'm getting tired of being ignored by the Detroit City fans. So I'm picking Sacramento. So I don't think you're good, Detroit.
I would have you not in the power rankings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just leave you out of the power rankings. I would put you like mid-table in League 2. That's where I think you belong, Detroit City.
NASL All-Stars. More like
I thought they were the
USL clubs.
That was the NISA All-Stars.
Go play in UPSL or whatever.
Well, they're gonna ignore me because I picked them to win, but I really hope they lose, honestly.
Oh man, I picked Sacramento here. I just, and this is not me having just random attacks onto Detroit City. I just really believe in what Sacramento's doing right now. The more and more I've watched them, the more and more I kind of see what John sees a little bit, because I kind of just watched the highlights and didn't watch the extended, the entire matches. But the more I've watched, the more I really, really like. I think what they can do tactically can really shut down what Detroit City does. That said, I do think that a guy like Steinwasser is going to be huge in this match. I think that if Detroit City comes away with the result here, it's going to be because of him.
By the way, you can at me at USL Tactics if you don't like that take. It's right here on my screen, so you just copy and paste.
Oh dear God! Next up, we have Oakland versus Rio Grande.
Yeah, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Oakland is one of the 3 teams in the USL Championship unbeaten in their last 5. I feel like they were really starting to kind of find their form and just sitting on that edge of a playoff spot. A win here could see them climb all the way as high as 3rd or 4th. I'm going to take Oakland to win this one. However, I do want to at least point out that RGV had a very long streak of games where they scored in matches, ended against Los Dos this past weekend. So I'm backing Oakland to win this match.
Yeah, I went Oakland as well. Like I said earlier, I really believe in what they're doing tactically. I think RGV just tends to be a little bit vulnerable. Some of their roster decisions in terms of who they're starting on a week-to-week basis continue to baffle me. So kind of leaning Roots.
Since again I'm the Norwich of league predictions, I am attracted to yellow and green teams. So I already picked Tampa. So I am also picking Oakland. Sorry, Oakland.
Do they have yellow and green? Do they?
Yeah, it's one of their kits. It's like a
And-
full
and
green
black.
top.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they have like black and then yellow and green because it's like we're Oakland.
I was
Yeah,
thinking.
AKs.
I was just thinking. Okay, I was just thinking about the crest, and I was like, I don't remember any green. Okay, that makes sense.
It's that that like weird mosaic-y thing underneath the tree and the logo. They've got like every color under the rainbow there.
Okay. I mean, I guess they don't have to change their logo for June. So good on them. Forward thinking.
That's true. I picked Oakland also to get the win. The Venezia All Stars gonna get the 3 points.
Venezia All Stars. Jesus Christ. I also took Oakland. Rio Grande, they were really, really good, and then they were really, really not, and then they're pretty good again. I just believe what Oakland is doing right
They're
now.
permanently really, really average, if we're being honest.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Also, somebody remind me to upload this as a podcast because I will forget.
We just got a reminder from Jeremy Trenchman.
I know. I just saw that. I remember at USL Tactics. That's who you need to go to remind for that. Next up,
Like,
we have.
follow and comment, people.
Bring them your way.
Next up, we have Phoenix versus El Paso.
This is a really just kind of fascinating match to see with Phoenix. If you're looking back through some of their games, this is a possibility for the first time since the end of the 2021 season that they would have gone 3 consecutive home games without winning a match at home. They had ended last season with 2 draws and then eventually lost their playoff game at home in the regular season. I'm trying to go back through and find the last time they lost 3 consecutive home games, but I'm going to predict that they get 3 consecutive home losses with El Paso getting a win here.
Yeah, I went draw. El Paso kind of has been bleeding players between Brockbank just kind of up and leaving, the Luna sale, some injuries. I still believe in what they're doing. Meanwhile, Phoenix, I think there's a little more trouble brewing there than we're maybe giving credit for. I don't know. I went draw with this one. I could see it going either way. Like, Phoenix feels like they're going to right the ship, but there's just something off about that team.
Yeah, I get that, and so I'm trying to buck the trend and come off as like the super smart guy. So I picked Phoenix to win. So when they do win, I'll be like, "See, guys, I told you so." But then when they lose, I'm gonna be like, "See, guys, I told you I was terrible at this."
John hated that pick so much that he left.
Yeah, he could not take it. He could not take what he just said. I went with El Paso winning. I don't think Phoenix is in good form right now. I don't think they're gonna write it so quickly. He's back. The shame. And,
John needed a re-up on the vodka soda.
Yes, sir.
I have that effect on people.
Oh man, I went with El Paso in this one, and I think it's because I've been listening to a lot more Seriously Loco, and I've been buying into Phil's propaganda. I also, this is just kind of my rule of thumb: if you lose to Legion, you're bad at soccer. So, like, don't be bad at soccer anymore, Phoenix. El Paso's going to win this one.
And I did clarify, Phoenix Rising has not lost 3 consecutive home games in the Phoenix Rising era. You have to go all the way back to the Arizona United SC days in 2016 to find the last time they lost 3 consecutive home games, all to 3 MLS teams.
Was that Drogba's first year?
No, Drogba was a proper Phoenix Rising player. This was the old Arizona United before the rebrand. They lost to Timbers 2, Los Dos, and Real Monarchs 3 in a row.
MLS
Christ.
next.
Talk about USL.
Wow.
Next up, we are going to be moving down to League One, where we are going to see another invasion into Richmond. This time, still the Charlotte Independent supporters.
Richmond, I think, played decently well. They had a pretty good win against Chattanooga team that is in somewhat of a free fall at the moment with 3 consecutive losses, and then even picking up the 2-2 draw against Tormentus. So I think Richmond, just playing at home, they get a result here against Charlotte with a win.
Yeah, because I'm kind of the guy who just does data for everything. I now have USL League One XG up on the site, and Richmond is the team that creates the most expected goals and allows the most expected goals in League One. So they're kind of just a party, no matter how you slice it. I think that kind of end-to-end game leans their way more than it does for the Independents. So I went with them.
Yeah, Harry asked, does Charlotte even have 11 fans? They do. It was an adopt a fan program where every starting 11 player gets to adopt a fan, and they cover all 11 of them. Yeah, I agree with John. I picked Charlotte a few times, and I think every time I do, they disappoint me. And then I remember their Charlotte Independents, and they're just generally disappointing. Mostly the front office. I'm not going to put that on the players as much. And then John, just explain, like, expected goals allowed. That's high numbers, good, right? That's we want.
You want to allow as many as possible.
Perfect. I think if kickers are doing that, then we gotta go with the team that's statistically doing the best job. So yeah, I went with Richmond.
Big number, good. I went with kickers by 10. Unfortunately, I didn't lock it because I had another lock for sure for the coming up. But yeah, I don't think Charlotte is looking good right now. After the hot start that they've had, Ibarra was injured. I don't know if he'll be back.
Yeah.
But he got injured fairly early in the first half. Wouldn't have made a difference. We still would have kicked their ass anyways. But their own players were fighting with each other. I don't know who the left back from Colombia was, but they were the center back and the keeper that nobody even knows because he only been with the club for 3 days. As we're yelling at him because Alan Gavilanes was tearing him up the whole time. So I think Richmond is a strange team right now, but they're a good team still, and I respect them, and I think they'll definitely get a win.
Somebody disagreed apparently. Kicker, I hardly know her. That's all right. That's a bad one. All right. I went with the kickers. I believe in the kickers. This is entirely out of principle at this point. You don't block Gio and then not expect to have some kind of social ramifications. And that's not even just for the other things that are coming out of that organization. I know there were a few fans that were talking about that. It sounded like that Greenville fans were there for a funeral, which is just going to be the Independents after about 2 years from now because Charlotte FC is here, baby.
Wow.
They made fun of me for having FIFA in my Twitter bio. That was disrespectful.
I mean,
well, they do movie reviews in theirs, but neither here nor there.
And roots for Watford.
And roots for True.
Yeah.
What a layup. And I'm think this the next match, is this Northern Colorado's home opener?
No, that home opener is tomorrow against
Tomorrow.
NCFC. But I do think tomorrow should be one to watch for because it should dictate how they just kind of approach this match on Saturday. You would think with the home opener, they would want to just kind of put on a good show. And if you're going up against NCFC, that's certainly a team really kind of to keep or to at least take a bit more seriously for this match, especially as holding a playoff spot. So I'm going to go with a draw against Tormenta on Saturday. Hey, what Tormenta really has going for them is just their still unbeaten record away from home, despite not having wins at home. So I think it'll be another tough match. I'll go with a draw.
Yeah, it went Tormenta here. Keziah Sterling got on the board with 2 assists this past match for them. I think he's
Come on,
really
you
doing
Spurs.
something special. Oh yeah. So that's really my motivation here. I do think that this Tormenta team is really going to round into form. They've impressed me when I've seen them. So
Didn't he also just do an interview with 2 Cents? I think he did.
I think he
Sterling?
did too. I think he did too.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I can't remember if it was 2 Cents or Walking 90, but whichever one it was incredible. Go listen to it. Anyway.
I just have a message for USL Elite 1 teams. Can you guys like be consistent, please? You know how hard it is to pick when like every team but 3 have multiple losses in the past 5 games? Like it's wild. It's like Christmas on the standings. Oof. I went with Tormenta more just because kind of the run of form. Kind of, I guess. I don't know. I didn't feel great about it. Still don't feel great about it. But I do think Northern Colorado is probably going to go a little bit heavier in their home opener. But you never know. Like they might just be rallying up if they do some damage against North Carolina. Maybe that takes the momentum in and they get some out of it. But I picked Tormenta in this one.
I wanted to go with Tormenta. I really do enjoy how they play, especially after they beat us at home. That one really hurt a couple weeks ago. But Colorado, I mean, they have Para, and he's been playing very well, and I can see why he left Charlotte to go to a better team in Northern Colorado.
Damn.
So I think he's gonna get back into form, and after having an exciting first home game tomorrow, I think they'll win tomorrow and then move on and have a good showing and beat Tormenta.
I mean, we're talking about how much of a crapshoot this league is. Greenville Triumph are top of the league with a goal difference of 1.
Because we're number 1, baby.
Charlotte has a goal difference of 0. North Carolina has a goal difference of 0. I love this league so much for all the wrong reasons. And I'm going with Northern Colorado. I want to believe in Tormenta because I really like watching them play. Their defense is so boom or bust. They will either shut you out or give up 7, and there's really no in between with them. I think that Northern Colorado is going to have the juice. I think playing in higher altitudes is going to get to a team that plays in South Georgia. So, yeah, I'm going with Northern Colorado here. And then we have our last match. We have Fuego versus the Sad Boys.
Chattanooga is in free fall right now. Not only have they lost their last 3, they haven't scored a goal in their last 3. In fact, their last goals that they scored was against this very same Central Valley Fuego team 310 minutes ago. You could watch the first 2 episode 1 and episode 2 of Star Wars, and then the first 32 minutes of episode 3 in that time since they last scored a goal, which is why I think Fuego, despite not having a win at home yet, I'm going to lock them to get a win here against a very much struggling Chattanooga team.
yeah, Fuego kind of fall into the same havoc bucket as Richmond, where they're a very end-to-end kind of team. I have a little bit of a one-sided beef with Villian Biev. I think Omaha has been a little bit distracted with the Open Cup and all of that excitement, and I think with the ability to focus in, they'll play well, but I do have a draw here.
Fuego. I'm going with Fuego. Just because they're on fire. They haven't lost a match.
Translation.
I mean, they
It
haven't.
works. It works.
I live in SoCal. I know some Spanish words.
Yes.
It's been a.
We've never
I mean, it's
used
been
that
since
for Canapapusa.
it's been since April since they lost a match. So I think I'm gonna tip them for going over the edge. They've had a couple draws lately, so I think they're gonna get this one done and get 3 points.
Mhm. Chattanooga sucks. They just
There it
they're
is.
they're just not a good team right now. I even if you, they just have looked terrible offensively, defensively. They just don't look like they're ready to play at all. Every game that they're losing at home, they're losing away. They just have nothing going for them, and the offense that they have hasn't been putting up any numbers. Um, I'm going with Fuego, BJ, whatever. Um, I have a beef with him too if he has beef with my boy John, but he has been playing very well. Um, I really like their Cerritos in the midfield that they have. Some of their players are very impressive, and I really have enjoyed watching them play. But yeah, Chattanooga just sucks. So that's my lock. Fuego is my lock for the week also.
Run from it, dread from it. Bijev scores all the same. This, except for the one game against Omaha, they're going to. I mean, Fuego are going to at least get a goal. And if you asked me, like, are the Red Wolves going to score? No, they're not. They're just not going to score. So I went with Fuego here. I mean, I like what I've seen at home too. I really like watching Fuego at home. They're a fun team to watch. Really exciting, just all around. If you're not watching the kickers for a track meet back and forth, I mean, hey, the if it's going to be one way traffic, which I think it's going to be, Fuego are going to get this. As for my wall art, I have no idea what this is. I I am sitting in my aunt and uncle's foyer. I cannot. I think
It's foyer, actually,
Yeah.
sir.
It's French.
do I sound like I speak any kind of French?
Yeah, it's a foyer in Birmingham.
Listen, boys, I have to clean it up when I get on this show. You don't hear me whenever I'm not on camera. It gets real rough. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
So you are French.
It's basically French. But I think that's everything when it comes to predictions. Does anybody have any just last things they want to say? I know this episode's run a little bit long, but anybody got any last things to say on the USL talk?
How about this for some Southern speaking? Happy Pride, y'all!
Hey, y'all means all, babe.
We just lost every viewer in the South. Congrats, Alan.
Thanks. First Detroit, and now everyone in the South. Like,
oh, by the way, just to update that poll before we get off on who's going to miss the playoffs. Birmingham on 35% of the vote, Miami on 33%, Indy on 31%. So as tight as you can possibly imagine. But Birmingham slightly favored to miss out.
Yeah. Not shocking. Yeah. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into some little outros. I want to start. Let's go with Ryan.
I would like to say well done to the internet for just basically getting Morbius back into theaters at the expense of the Sony executives.
time.
Never mind that Sony is still experiencing delays with PS5s that people still can't get. They wanted to waste their money to basically make a movie about Spider-Man's 14th best foe and antagonist. So well done, internet. We had them average $85 per theater.
Sean.
Yeah, I think I do just have to kind of return to a point made at the beginning and shout out Backheeled. We're at a month of publishing at this point. I'm in it twice a week writing about the USL. I'm thinking I'm maybe one of the only people who's actually given money to write about the USL from a national perspective. So support the website, support that, because it's the only way we're going to be able to grow the coverage of the game.
For sure, for sure. How much is it, by the way?
Not much, but hey, it is something.
I mean, I meant like, does it cost anything to subscribe for the people who are?
Oh, subscribe? Absolutely not. Yeah, like get in there for free. It's in your inbox. We still publish everything full on, but I mean, like, get that early access.
So you have no excuse, people at home, like zero excuse. Next up, we got,
Detroit City fans.
there it is. Just throw
Hey,
it
and
out.
if you're a Detroit fan, I wrote a glowing profile of Antoine Hoppenot, so
They only read power rankings, please. Gio.
I am excited for Obi-Wan Kenobi tomorrow. So I know some of you guys watch, so it's awesome. And I am fairly excited to watch Jurassic World this week. I'm gonna go see that on Thursday. Just get some nostalgia going. And that's about it.
There's a kid that I worked with at the place I had to stop working at because I just moved, but he worked in the back room of the kitchen. Kid has autism, super sweet kid, super nice, obsessed with Jurassic World. I don't know how I forgot that it was coming out on this Thursday, because believe you me, he told me daily when it was coming out. The fact that I forgot, I'm a terrible friend. Jesus Christ.
So now you gotta go watch it.
Now I don't want to watch it. I really don't. I watched the first Jurassic World and enjoyed it, and I said, this is where I'm going to stop. I'm going to end while I'm on top. So, Alan.
It's election day in California, so I just want to take this opportunity to remind people to vote and to register to vote in your local races. Are super important. Your school board races, your city council. These are the people that really make decisions that you affect your everyday life. So go out, get registered to vote, and make your voice heard on election day. And I'm super stoked. I tried to talk my wife into watching it, but she said no. So tomorrow I'll be watching Chippendale Rescue Rangers. So
Yes.
I can't wait to get
it
on.
was absolutely
It's
killer.
really good.
That's why I tried to convince her. I'm like, it's got over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the internet says it's good. And she was like, mm-mm. I was like, this one I'm watching by myself. She's like, mm-hmm. It's like, all right. So tomorrow on the docket is Chippendales Rescue Rangers.
Solid. I guess I'll take a little bit of a podium. I just want to throw it out there. If your club does not have any kind of Pride Night planned, or does not want to promote it, looking at you, Legion, get it on them and yell at them to do that, because it's really important. It's so freaking important. The amount of LGBTQ plus people who are supporters of, our soccer teams. I mean, I know it's not more than half, but like, it feels like it sometimes, because relative to other sports, soccer is just so much more inclusive, and we want to make this feel like a more inclusive place. So if they don't have anything planned, and it's not, and I don't mean by the supporters groups, I mean by the club, yell at them to do so. Make a change. It's important. I think I've been doing pieces of music. I don't remember what I did 2 weeks ago or last week, whichever one it was. If I didn't say Finlandia by Sibelius last week.
Oh, what a boo.
Hey, that's what I'm walking down the aisle to, you jerk.
Oh man.
Ugh, what a hack.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that would be it. If I did say that last week, go listen to. I want you to listen to the first movement of Shostakovich 5. It's a banger. The finale is good, but the first movement is chef's kiss. So this is a super, super long episode, and I will upload this for podcast this week. Someone please remind me. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. The chat was popping tonight. Let's do this every single week. And if you're listening at home, thank you so much for listening for a full hour and 24 minutes. But to round out the show, thank you guys so much for listening. And for one last time tonight, Q Allen's voice. Maybe.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show. This and every episode is brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. Find podcasts and other written work at bgn.fm. Once again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys again next week.